Thank you. So in front of you, you have a couple of sticky notes. And you also have these colorful cheat sheets. So as you can see, these are,
Yeah, just keep going.
this came from UNESCO actually. And through the an initiative that they have on promoting children's rights. So when we look at all of these rights, I would like you to think not only of children, but any of the protected classes that are covered in the Human Rights Ordinance. So we can think about minority groups, we can think about members of the LGBTQ plus community, we can think of different racial and ethnic groups. We can think of,
Hold up just a moment. Is it
Okay.
working?
y ahora sí. Pero lo podemos escuchar todos. No? Okay, good. So I would like you to take a closer look at each one of these. Three of those that you feel are more important to you. So you can start selecting maybe 5 first and then going down to 3. But try to choose your final 3. 3 of these rights that you think are, or in general, rights that
Keep going.
rights that you believe are extremely important.
It was working for a minute.
Some of them are a little blurry. 26 says social and economic health. 33 look says protection from harmful drugs. 24 says health, water, food, environment. 30 says minority culture, language, and religion. And if you have a hard time reading any other number, please let me know. Do you already have your top 3? You do? Thank you. You do? Awesome. Carlos, ¿tienes los 3 derechos? Los derechos que están aquí. Trata de escoger aquí.
Do you have the top 3 rights?
Creo que se ven más claritos en tu copia. Puedes escoger 3.
So you can choose 3.
¿Tres de los derechos que crees que son los más importantes?
3 of the rights.
Should be.
3 of the rights that you think are most important. Okay. Who would like to share what those values are or rights? Those top 3.
Well, I think it depends if you live in a crowd.
Yeah. Just, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just a matter of what are the rights that speak more to you.
I will say the second one, no discrimination. And number 23, like children with disabilities.
Okay.
like. Want them to be. Protected and bullied, stuff like that. He just said children with disabilities. And. Ours one is number 42.
Which one does it, what does it say? No, the 42.
42 says everyone must know children by.
Speaker, do you want to
Yeah, I
share?
can share. I said, 24, health, water, and health, water, food, environment. 19, protection from violence, and then 2, no discrimination. With 19 and 24, I just felt like it was essential stuff, essential things to go on with life. You know, being protected from violence and having health, water, and food. And then discrimination, I just felt like no discrimination I think would make life more enjoyable for everyone.
Anna, would you like to share?
So I would like to share like first one for me, it's protection and war. Because this is real, like if something happened in country, but children is not responsible for what's going on.
Which number was that?
38, 38, yeah. Second in my choice, it's health, access to water and food, it's like important for survival, when survive the children and it's, yeah, supposed to be healthy food and normal food. Number 3, it's is access to information because people need to know their rights. And it will be good to educate people, even in school, just to talk about domestic violence, children's rights. And so it's.
Thank you. Carlos, ¿quieres compartir cuáles son esos 3 derechos que
Carlos, do you want to share? What are the 3 rights?
turn it up a little bit?
She says she can hear okay.
These are good.
Ok, yo pienso
So I think
que los 3 derechos principales
that the
serían
3 main rights would be
acceso a la educación,
access to education, interpreter lost sound.
He's thinking.
They're only in English. Oh, wait, take a minute too.
y también la prevención a la venta del tráfico, a la venta y el tráfico de
And then prevention of trafficking.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Nia, were you circling your own also notes on?
Yeah, do you want to share?
I think number 2, no discrimination is so important because we know how much that impacts the ability to do anything else and engage in society. The freedom of thought and religion is really important, especially in the United States. So many people moved here for that, and it needs to be protected. And then keeping families together, number 9 was the other one that I circled that. Again, we know it makes such a difference to kids' trajectories if they can stay with their family unit.
Thank you. Thank you for participating in the activity. I think that what's really important about us connecting to these core values and protections in alignment with the work that you do as a commission is easily tied up into your role, your duties, and ensuring that there are activities within your work plan that are in alignment with fostering those values of protection on discrimination, protection, and for people, with disabilities. What are the opportunities out there? What is happening with, like, tapping into those communities as well to ensure that these rights are protected and that your work is elevated in the spirit of these core values and rights. So in a nutshell, that's the activity. You get to keep these, and if you want to explore it with your kids, it's a great opportunity, or with people around you, or just think about it, like maybe taking one of these values a day, and you can interact with the sheet differently as you choose. And really thinking about what is the city exactly doing on families or children or any of the groups and protected classes that we strive to bring into our activities, and also making sure that the values of diversity and inclusion are fostered and elevated through your work. We do have an agenda that included these activity. We're gonna look at the agenda real quick here. But without further ado, we can go ahead and start with Nia. Then we're gonna go and move into having a conversation about elections, and we're gonna move into working on the work plan specifically. We will wrap up, and yeah, that's pretty much the plan for the day. So please, Nia, take it over.
Should I stand there with the camera?
Whatever you want. Yes.
So good to be with you all today. I just want to say I've watched the work of the HRC since it was developed, and it's so incredibly critical and such a unique thing. So many cities don't have HRCs, and to see what you all have done and continue to do is just really inspiring. So thank you for serving in this role. Today, we're going to talk through a few things. The first thing is really, why are you here? Why are you individually here? Why did you want to be part of this? And then what is the role of the HRC more broadly? How can we ensure that you're really fulfilling that to the utmost and using your skills and connections to do that? And then we're gonna kind of wrap up just talking about how you want to show up and work with each other. It's always great during a retreat to have those conversations and make sure that you all are really able to connect well and do this work together. So you have agendas in front of you that just have some kind of priming questions, but more than anything, I just want to have a conversation and talk with you about how things are going. I'm sure if you've ever looked at other boards and commissions in the city of Boulder, you realize the HRC is special. I mean, even just the makeup. We have predominantly immigrants on this HRC. We have more people of color. We have live interpretation. That's a really unique thing that you have going on here. So I'd love to just hear, why did you want to apply? Why did you see the HRC in the paper or online and think, I want to be part of that? Anna, you want to go first?
Yeah, absolutely. I did apply for this position because I do care about human rights, and I do want to do something different, like for our community, to fight for human rights, for children's rights, for all color of people rights, because you equal, born equal, it's not supposed to be like any discrimination. Yeah, and my goal is to make something different, like bring something meaningful. I mean, to work on something very important.
I'm gonna Let's switch places, so.
Oh, okay.
Anna's a little bit softer.
For interpretation, if we can project our voices, and this is for everybody, it will be great. Because the microphone, they have to listen, hear us, and then being able to interpret. So it will be great. If we can all speak up a little, we have the whole building for ourselves.
Pretend you're shouting at your children.
It's so big to Okay, do I have to repeat? No.
Interpreters, are we good? Okay.
I would say, very similar to Anna, believe in human rights, think that everybody should feel welcome within Boulder, And I thought I could potentially just share ideas of how to make people feel that way once I realized I was gonna stay in this community. It's easy to notice not a lot of people look like me here, and a lot of people I know choose not to stay here for that reason. So I thought nothing's gonna change if all of us just keep leaving. So just listening to people around me who didn't want to stay in Boulder, not because of the city, but just because of the makeup of people not feeling comfortable or welcome here, and just trying to see what I can do to kind of make that, just shift that even in the smallest way.
So stay and fight.
Yeah, kind
I
of.
love that. Yeah. Thank you. Well, Carlos.
Bueno, yo estoy en esta comisión
I'm on the commission
porque
because
ayudar a la comunidad.
I'd like to help the community.
Me interesa la comunidad.
I'm really interested in supporting the
Casi no
community,
represento más a la comunidad latina
in particular the Latino community.
de ellos, o creo tener la voz de ellos dentro de este comité.
You know, I'd like to bring them in
¿Sí?
to this
Porque,
commission.
la comunidad latina,
The Latino community,
pero a veces no le gusta pedir.
you know, they don't often like to ask.
Sabe cómo tener acceso a las cosas que tiene la ciudad, a los
How, you know, they don't like to ask about how they might have access to things that the city provides.
de que estoy aquí.
And so that's why.
Thank you, Carlos. JH?
Pretty good. I think I joined for 3 main reasons. I think after I got divorced, I started meeting people and realized what I have understood about America, it was not the same. Where there were a lot of hurt to children. And you know, I don't want to be specific, but it's a lot of like abuse. I mean, if we use that word, that was one thing. And the other part of it was, I felt like there were a lot of hurt inside of the community that has not been voiced. That were, if something happened, people just keep it in. They said, you know what, that's normal, or that happened to this person, you know, that happened to that person. And I thought like I would have a voice to just you know, be a guide for some people, or be an example of like, okay, if something happened to you, you don't have to be quiet, or you don't have to be ashamed of it, or you don't have to be like swallow it. So, and I remember when I read about the position at the HRC, and that's pretty much how they describe it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I felt like it's not the same of what it's supposed to be, you know. What was describing in the what was describing as an HRC member, but the reality is different. So that's why I feel it. So.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, that was going to be my next question. So you all had these expectations coming in. You wanted to stay and fight. You want to help make changes. You want to bring in the Latino community. What has been the reality? What's been your experience actually sitting on the HRC? Is that happening? Go for it, JH.
Okay. My experience, I feel like it's more like a process instead of it's more like a process instead of a response to situations. It's like I remember I talked to, there was a thing that happened, okay? And I'm not gonna name. And place in Boulder, like it was like a place where kids learn dancing. And I found out about it, it kind of pisses me off. And I started talking to Clay about it. And the thing was, you know, like the process was to go. So I ended up going to a different direction. Yes, I did get it resolved, but I think the process for me, it's. I'm not gonna say it's not working, but for me, it's not what the book, like if you really read the book of the HRC, the process is not, it has a lot of like, corners, like zigzagging, I would say. And, I think, it has not been, a straight line.
Yeah.
And still, I have to tell you, I've been here for probably almost 2 years now. Yeah, 2 years. And I still feel misinformed about the HRC. Even though I have to tell you, I have a good community here with lawyers and friends that understand part of the city, but I don't think the HRC's work with what is describing in the book is what it is. So that's my understanding of it, and I think it could be better. And I think could be more helpful to the community than just a group of people that's meeting once a month or not that.
Mm-hmm.
If we use it like how to describe the book, so.
Thank you. Hold on to that piece where it could be more effective, because I want to come back to that and talk about it some more.
Okay.
What about the rest of you? How has this matched your expectations?
I guess I would agree with JH. I definitely understand it's a process, like making change in anything, I think takes a lot of time and energy and effort, and we just don't meet that often. And I think it's just because of the way it's set up and also just all of our lives keeping us so busy that we have this passion or want to dedicate time to doing these things. But the circumstances just doesn't make it easy for you to be involved for a year and then be like, everything's changed and think like we did it, it seems like it's a long process. And I don't know, I guess when I reflect on the hours that we do spend, even though it's not a lot, maybe we could be more efficient. In what ways, you may ask? I'm not too sure, but like I can say there are probably more efficient ways to do it. Like something I really appreciated or appreciate still is the funding process. Like we were able to fund events for different groups of people who without that money or funding those events might not have taken place. And even though it's just once a year that event happens, I think it feels good to go to something in a community where you can learn about a different community, or you go to a community and you can relate to people there in maybe ways you didn't relate to people before in this community. So I think that's a huge thing. But I guess I think we could do more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing we can do more. Things are taking longer, and part of that is just availability, but
Yeah.
also process.
Yeah.
So you'd like to get to solutions faster. Yeah. Carlos, Anna, how has your experience on HRC matched reality? Please.
Yo estoy más involucrado en este aspecto porque
I've been involved
lo de la
with
ciudad,
this.
también soy un conector comunitario.
I'm a community connector.
Entonces, tengo un poquito más de conexiones y más trabajo con la ciudad.
So I have a little bit more connection and work with the city
Llevado a la comunidad. Y
and with the community.
habemos en este trabajo no nada más habemos gente latina, sino también hay gente de aquí de Estados Unidos,
So we're working with Latinos and also people from the United
a
States,
todas las comunidades, ¿verdad? También tenemos nepalíes
with all those
involucrados en este proceso. Entonces,
communities, and so we're all
estoy
involved with this
involucrado
process.
desde la pandemia. Entonces empezamos con la pandemia. He trabajado en repartir máscaras. Empezamos desde las máscaras.
So we started with
Hemos
the pandemic, we
hecho
started handing out masks,
tests, cuando empezaron los tests.
and then we started with
Trabajamos
tests.
las vacunas.
And then vaccines,
y empezaron a vacunar a la gente.
they started vaccinating people.
Fue uno de los primeros latinos, vamos a decir, aquí en Boulder, de los que se vacunaron para poner el ejemplo a la comunidad.
So one of the first Latinos that got vaccinated in Boulder, just to set the example.
Involucrado en todos estos procesos.
So I've been involved in all of these
Y
processes,
contento de estar en todo esto.
and I'm happy to have participated in all of this.
La comunidad, hay muchas comunidades que me conocen aquí en Boulder y pues sé cómo llegar a la comunidad y cómo la comunidad viene a mí cuando requiere algo.
So I know a lot of the communities in Boulder, and the communities know me. They know how to come to me, and I know how to reach them.
That's wonderful.
I agree.
Mhm.
For me, it's maybe possibility to raise my voice,
Mhm.
to start to speak and just to talk about and to be heard. It's very important.
Thank you. When you think about the HRC, what do you think the greatest use of this group is? What is the best purpose you all can have together? Yeah.
Make something like life better,
Make life better.
life little bit maybe like so.
Can you say that again, just loud?
Yeah, maybe to make life in Boulder, Boulder community better in some way, what is possible to do. Like, of course, not so huge changes, but yeah, this.
Any specific examples?
For example, children rights, like children can raise a voice in a court if something happened in family, like. And
Mhm.
it's from my personal experience.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
I was just trying to read, oh, go ahead. Carlos.
Yo creo que una labor principal de los comisionados
I think one of the
de-
main purposes
de nuestras comunidades a la ciudad, al consejo de la ciudad principalmente. Porque
is sort of connecting communities to the city council.
sí, entonces yo creo que esa es una principal razón que tenemos para estar aquí.
I think that's one of the main reasons we have for being here.
And such a great example of your personal connections being used as that connector. Yeah, thank you. Dave?
So I would say, if you want to, how do you put it? Like the reason, is that what you said? The reason
What's the greatest use of the HRC, the best purpose?
okay, the best purpose, so that's what I was going to try to read to you. It's I think for me, it's if you read the ordinance that establishes the HRC under at the 2-3-6 paragraph C, it says the function of the commission are to foster mutual respect and understanding and to create an atmosphere conducive to the promotion of amicable relationship and sorry, no, I got that the wrong one. So what it is like it's like a suggestion on the city policy with respect of social problem to be sensitive to the social needs of citizens and to advise and assist the city government and relating human and social services to the needs of the city residents. So I feel like this was the main reason when I read it. That's like that's kind of like
Mhm.
well, my phone split it in two. I don't know why it sent me somewhere else. But because I read it a lot, I read that thing probably 10 times.
Mhm.
And I do memorize some of it, but I feel like that's probably like the main purpose it should be. It's like to make life better in the community and create like I don't know why it's split it in two, and I can't read it all, so I don't know. But I gave you the paragraph on it. It's, yeah,
Yeah, so it's making life better and doing that through that social service connection, it sounds like.
social service connection and, yeah, and, there was another one on, yeah, social service, yeah, to the needs of the city residents, yeah.
Great. You have anything you want to add, Vicky?
Wow, this is so hard for me. I don't know why, but I guess I would kind of relate it more with Anna's response, like making a change. I don't know what that would really look like, but going kind of off of what JH said, maybe like making life in Boulder more just like great
Mhm.
for everyone. Because I think there's a lot of people in Boulder who would live amazing lives, you know? And I think that not everybody gets to have that opportunity, and I don't think we can change that significantly. But like wherever people are, making sure they can have a good life as well.
Yeah. Well, that's then a perfect transition. Once again, you all are teeing me up to talk about what does this really look like in your role as HRC? And I want to just give a little context, which you all probably know, but more than anything, a reminder. Sitting on a city border commission has power just in being appointed to this role. If you show up with your HRC name tag to an event, people take notice, right? You all are giving of your time, you're helping to serve in this leadership role in the city, and the community notes that. So it's also looking at how can we leverage that power to do the things you just talked about? How do we ensure you are at the community events so that people are seeing you and are recognizing that they have this resource in the HRC, that they know to call when there's an issue? And how do we ensure that each of you take the power, not just from when you're together, but when you're out on your own as well? So thinking about that, let's talk about it collectively. How can you leverage your position of power as the HRC to do all of the good things that you were talking about and the changes that need to happen? And I'm going to write them up there so that we can get a list going of what that looks like. Let's be as specific as possible. And I'll put the first one up there, going to community events, right? That's a great way that you can do that. What other ideas?
Hosting events.
Ooh, hosting, yes. What kind of events would you want to host?
I don't know, anything that might align with our mission. Like if we said, oh, we feel like the community could use this, like we could in some way educate people, or we have an idea
Yeah.
about something, like let's share it out.
The educational events.
Like it's school, yeah.
Oh, in school.
Yeah.
What else can you do to?
Like, one thing I believe in is, it's like, it's to inform people like that, because that's one of the things, really, like, so it's good, like, one thing, like, you know, like,
Jade, could you speak up a little bit? I can't hear you.
can we, I say like, inform people like to, Isabel?
Big boys, big boys. Inform community.
Okay.
Keep going.
Oh, like bring awareness, I don't know how to put it, I don't know the right. English is my third language.
You're doing great.
It's like, that one thing I feel in most cases is where something happened, people don't know how to, where to go, where the resources, how to proceed, so.
How do you all know how to do that?
by asking others. I don't know. That's how I do it. I even, talk to connection. That's
Going to district attorney.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, call it district attorney. That's it.
CXNS, just connections, I ran out of room. Okay, so helping keep the community informed, where they go, how do they get resources, how do they know that there's help available? Yeah. What else? What can you do?
Ayudar.
Ask.
Help. Thank you. Say more.
Ah, la comunidad necesita ayuda, como dice ahí, ¿dónde están los recursos? Entonces, ayudar a la comunidad a llegar a esos recursos.
Where are the resources? Helping the community get to those resources.
Yo tengo comunicación con gente que me manda la información a mí y yo se la hago llegar a la comunidad.
So I have people that send me information and then I send it on to the community.
Carlos, can you share that with the HRC when you get it?
Pues hasta ahorita no lo he hecho, pero lo puedo hacer.
I haven't done it before, but I can do it now.
Algunas veces sí he compartido alguna información con Ingrid, pero no todo.
Sometimes I've shared
Lo voy-
sometimes I've shared information with Ingrid, but not everything. But I can do that.
Be great. Other ideas? Oh,
Can
Elizabeth.
I ask a clarifying
Mhm.
question? The term resources, it's a very large term. From your perspectives as HRC members, what kinds of resources? Is it, we're from Housing and Human Services, right? So I'm experiencing discrimination. I don't know what to do. I need food. I don't know what to do. I need rent. Like we do so much in our department and you all do so much in community. I wonder if you can say more about the resources, like what you see, what do people really need and want? Because that could help Ingrid and I understand and other people in our department make sure you have information that people want. And sometimes I think there are other channels as well. Nonprofit agencies, community connectors who have a different role than the HRC. So would just love to hear a little bit more about what resources means to you and what do you see is the greatest need that you would want to see the HRC step in for? Because everything might not actually be appropriate for your role, but we'd need to know that, right?
Yeah.
Right. For example, when BHP increased rent and it was not equal for everyone in community, I personally actually this year I didn't know whom to come and whom to speak and see if it's right or not, because I did experience this personally and it's hurt me, and I tried to push different buttons and it looked like it did not work. And I just decided to give up and move. Because it did happen, and to know who can, and at least to answer the questions what I'm gonna ask, it will be great. Yeah. And I still don't know this resources. Yeah.
That's a good question because you're right, and resources mean so much. And I was thinking that before you asked, like, wait, something just came up I was thinking about, and I was like, is this even aligned with our goal? So I had to pull up like a description of our goal, and I was still not certain because I just don't know if our interests in other areas should be prioritized. Like something that came to mind is my boss had hosted an event, like small event at the learning center where she just had 3 professionals share their career paths just to give the kids an idea of careers, because a lot of the kids are a little older, entering high school and don't know what career paths to go into because they don't have the resources or their families don't encourage them because their parents might not have the resources. So when I think of that came to mind, like I wish there, and being there and seeing how a lot of the kids didn't know what they wanted to do in a few years, and it's fine not to know, you know, but not having any inspiration or want or something like wanting to explore something, and then seeing how like informative it was for them to hear someone talk about the process of being a doctor, and then seeing some of them say, oh, I kind of want to do that, you know, just like giving them the resources that maybe don't have at home to help them structure the next few years of their lives. Because they're gonna come into this world and it's just gonna be hard to get by, you know, without knowing what careers they're gonna get into and providing for themselves.
It's important.
Yeah.
Because it's makes like whole life.
Yeah, it's their
Us.
whole life, and
I'd like to find out, how do you see the connection of that example you're given with the HRC?
yeah, I was like, I don't even know if this connects, like, because I feel like I'm gonna read what I think it was saying like promote mutual respect was one of the goals, and I thought, well, I guess this has nothing to do with that. And what ways are people not feeling that they're feeling respected? Maybe we should focus on like more or of that, you know. So I don't know, just came to mind, and maybe I just need to realize, like, personally take the time to say, okay, this belongs to this, and then everything else I might have passion for is I can do it outside of the agency, you know.
Well, and I think you might be on the right path with various events. This example might not fit the HRC,
Yeah.
but there are others that do promote mutual respect very specifically.
Yeah,
So using that as a resource and ensuring that the community knows about the events, that they're welcome into those spaces. How about that those spaces are actually created welcomingly to the community? That could be a really great role for the HRC to ensure that it's a space that really enshrines respect. I'm gonna cross out the careers for you,
yeah, not
but say specific events around the HRC principles. So helping people get questions answered. Specific events, what other resources are you interested in or hearing that people are looking for? When we say that we want to help provide resources or connect to resources.
What I see recently in last 10 years, people need legal help a lot. Like single mom with divorce paper, or some legal more protects their rights. Because to be honest, in court system all depends from lawyers who are able to hire better lawyers that gonna get more rights.
Speak up. Say that
Yeah.
one more time. Loud.
Who is able or have money to get a better lawyer, this person gonna get more rights and decision regarding children and etc. Like decision making, and yeah, it's all depends on this.
JH, thanks for coming back. We're talking about, what do we mean when we say resources? So far, we've talked about addressing disparities, specific events that can help folks rally around the HRC principles, and then accessing specific services like legal support. What else do we mean by resources?
I'm gonna speak for myself. I
Yeah,
don't know about anybody else, but, like I said, I still feel like I don't know, like, well, as a HRC member. There's no, when you come in, there's no training, there's no, I probably the last group that got the book. I don't know if you guys got the HRC book. Did you guys get it?
You should have.
The updated one too, no? But the thing is, it's like, when you come in, it's like you comply and you have to, I don't know, find your way. And then I still feel like it's just a once a month meeting. I don't know. I feel like if we as members, if we get more educated about, you know, our role, our goal, our function, it will make more sense than just that's kind of the biggest resource to me. It's like, then, you know, that's why I usually refer myself to the book, you know, and explain, but I don't know.
Yeah, so specifically for your role, a resource is understanding what that role is. Okay.
And, yeah. You know, most of the time when I need something, I have to call Ingrid because I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, it's the works. It's more work for Ingrid. I didn't want to do that, but.
But that's accurate too. Sometimes it is knowing the right people on city staff who can answer those questions as well. I mean, I think that's also a helpful resource, is knowing the who on the other side. Like Carlos was talking about, being that community connector, because he knows who can answer the questions that people are coming forward with. Okay, so as we're diving deeper into all the things we can do to better leverage your power, that also involves a lot of community engagement. We've already started brainstorming some of these things, just because that's how you all live. That's your values, right? It's community engagement is one of the best uses of the HRC. What else should the HRC be doing to engage in the community or with the community? What if I ask it this way? Do you think the community knows what the HRC does?
They don't.
A little bit?
No, not a lot.
Okay.
You know, I live here for quite a bit, and the only reason I knew about the HRC is because something happened to me and I was talking to a lawyer, because I didn't want to move forward. And then he said, well, you can try that resource. And I just, you know, that's it.
Yeah.
But it was like, I've got involved in a lot of stuff here that I never heard of the HRC.
Yeah. Seen some other nods. Feels like that's probably pretty common. Okay. Well, how should the community know about the HRC? What could we do differently? Collectively or individually? What could you as a commissioner do to help the community know about the HRC? I know this is the hard one, right?
Be on TV.
Well, no, it is. TV is one thing, but I think.
Yeah.
Like, from what social media, that's the one thing, and you know. I don't know, the other part of it, I know everybody's life is super easy, is try to do, like, that's my idea, though, nobody has to agree, so it's like, you know, try to do meetings outside. Let me give you an example. Let's say this month you do a meeting at a church, next month you do a meeting at a, how do you call it? what do you call the Jewish people?
Synagogue.
Synagogue, and next meeting, you probably do it at a mosque. That will inform people more, they will understand, they will know that is there. You know, I'm not saying we shouldn't be meeting online, but, you know, it's like, if we do meeting online, you can see, I can count how many people that will attend. You know, if it's not in front, what do you say, like, when we do, you go, when you give money, a grant, you know, is that how you call it? If it's not a time to give grant, you can count, I can count on 2 fingers how many people will show up, because these people are always there. And these are not the only people in town that should know about it. You know, but they're the one that, you know, they always come, so.
Yeah, so moving your meetings to physical locations where people are, who might want to know about the HRC, allows you to engage with them pretty well. It's a pretty great idea. Who wants to follow that?
I'm not saying that's the best.
Or
but I feel
TV.
like-
Yeah.
I
Get more
think
likes,
that will be more engaging,
likes on
you
YouTube.
know, and I have to tell you my experience here. Most places, like I'll give you an example, like if we do a meeting like Second Baptist, you will meet the whole Black community there, because that's probably the place where you will find most Black people in one day. And if you go to like I don't know, like there's a Hispanic church in Gambaro, I know, like, we don't have to go outside, but if we explain to them, we want to a meeting. And you will find all the Hispanics. You know, you can do it like in many other places, it depends, I don't know, or maybe there's another way, if you do it, you can reach out to those people to say you want people to attend, but I feel like online, people always, if it's not something they're really interested in, it's gonna take a minute.
I like that idea. I wonder if people would be interested in coming to a 2 to 3 hour meeting where we're discussing so many different topics
Yeah.
that might not relate to them, you know, maybe like 5 minutes of it might. So maybe like going out to the public and going to churches or wherever different communities that we're trying to help support, like, and asking them what they actually need. You know, just because we're 4 people from different communities, but it doesn't mean we're facing all of the challenges that are going on, that people are experiencing here.
Let's go deeper on that. So if you were to go out into these communities and ask them what they need, what would that look like? How would you do that?
You know, I don't think it should be that hard. It's like, I'll give you an example, like it's an example I will give, like, we're doing a pickup soccer game, okay? You just send a text to everybody and you ask what time is best, they say, yeah, this time is best for us, you know, because it's less sun, it's not gonna rain, it's not gonna be cold. So I think if you go ask them, it's make it clear, if you're asking, you're not proposing, ask them, you know, what do you think the community need, what do you need to talk about, what is hurting you, what do you think can change? So I think it should be a straight shot, like no hidden agenda, just ask.
Okay. Carlos, did you have something?
Sí. Pero también antes de ir a estas comunidades, también tenemos que tener nosotros saber qué recursos hay. Y para saber qué recursos hay necesitamos más comunicación. En este caso, por ejemplo, si yo quiero ir a una iglesia y decirles ¿qué necesitas? Si me necesitamos alimento, bueno, ya sé de dónde les voy a decir qué alimentos, dónde conseguir ese alimento. Sí.
Carlos, déjame un momento para interpretar eso. I'm just asking for a time because we gotta check with the interpreters. So my suggestion is that before going out and about in the community, is to first know and understand what kind of resources we have in order to address some of those questions that come up. And those that we cannot answer, then being able to take back. ¿Qué fue lo último que dijo? ¿Sí se acuerda?
It's just a weird thing on there.
¿Qué más dijiste, Carlos?
Ya se me olvidó.
You forgot, sorry, I wasn't,
Pues
Think.
sí, por ejemplo, si necesita alguna comunidad donde conseguir alimentos, nosotros, al menos yo ya sé dónde decirle dónde conseguir esos alimentos, ¿verdad? Porque, por ejemplo, si me dicen, oh, necesitamos una despensa, bueno, ok, vayan a EPA.
so it's basically just really knowing what kind of resources, where resources are. If someone in those conversations brings up that they need, that they're food insecure or that they need food, access to food, then I can redirect them to a food pantry like EFA.
Entonces, pero para yo estar informado, necesito comunicarme y con quién tengo que dar la comunicación. Con Ingrid y con Elizabeth, ¿no? Es decir, preguntarle, venir a Ingrid y Elizabeth, decirle, hey, ¿dónde está el recurso para la comunidad? ¿O dónde puedo conseguir estos recursos para la comunidad?
And that ties with having that communication with Ingrid and Elizabeth to be able to better identify what those resources and services are.
Ladies, I'd love to hear how this is landing with you. What do you think about these concepts?
Yeah, I think that's great. I think it's a good place to start. I think Ingrid makes a good point. Like, we all need to have a better understanding of our roles and all of the resources, so when we can get asked those questions, we can provide those to people.
And figure, I just want to clarify that I was interpreting for Carlos.
Okay,
Oh,
thanks, Carlos.
So if we start off learning more about what's available and where to get support, we understand our role better, then how do we go out into community? Is it one-on-one?
I have idea, maybe just distribute flyers, like in library for some community resources like housing or housing communities, then people can come and just read, because I actually never see some information about human commissioners, but flyers and maybe name like, you have to know you have the rights. It's like that. And it will attract the attention from people.
I think like reaching out to like community leaders where people would, you know, where a lot of people gather, whether it's a soccer group chat, like someone saying, let's play soccer, there's 30 people coming. And then they say, do you guys mind staying back 10 minutes? We're gonna have the HRC like there, just to have a quick discussion, you know? But I think that probably would be like a good way of going about it too, on top of adding flyers.
So what I'm hearing is formal and informal events, connecting, being present, and talking. Yeah. Let's talk some more about the formal events, the big events, the community cultural events. How can you show up as HRC commissioners to those?
Just come and say,
Yeah, just go. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the first step. Do you all coordinate that? Do you decide who's going to each community event? Could you?
I would say we could, because the previous group did a few of those that where they coordinate who goes to, but it's usually when they had that grant thing, you know, they say who, really, I feel like I speak really loud, I'm sorry. Yeah, the previous group did that, I think, where you know, I remember Art used to go to the thing, I forget the name of that building, you know, and it's like an art building.
The dairy.
The dairy
Mhm.
place, and, there's another guy, I forget his name, I'm not good with names, I'm sorry. He used to go to different meetings. And, yeah, I do show up to certain meetings here, but I feel like sometimes I do represent myself on the HRC, because there are certain things I feel like I said, I'm still, you know, been up for 3 years, I still don't know, I don't wanna. I can talk about it, but I don't wanna, you know.
Yeah.
Cause people ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I think, can I just
Please.
interject on a couple of things? Well, one is that I think one of the next parts of the agenda will be to talk about the what. So I love that this is kind of the how. And so we don't need to go too far down the track of exactly, you know, kind of what events, but that's information we have. So even though the HRC is not itself as a group making funding decisions, as Feker knows, we are continuing to give grants out in the community. The next major events are going to be Indigenous Peoples' Day. I think that's next on the list, right?
That's the next one.
So it'd be very easy, right, for us to say, here's the events at a meeting, if you all wanted to say, I can go to that one, or I want to go to that one, or there's something else happening that I want to represent. So just wanted to give an example where that would be easy for Ingrid and I, you know, to support the HRC in making those connections. And for some of these other things, we can talk about some of the what, right, the issues. But I just wanted to throw that in terms of, as a process point.
Yeah.
I'm smiling, JH, it's process.
Yeah.
But we can make that, it'd be easy to have that as agenda item for HRC meetings.
So let's use this as an example. You have Indigenous Peoples' Day coming up in October. We know the community puts on some really phenomenal events, and you say, yes, I'll go and represent HRC. What are you doing there?
Really, you know, are you gonna be involved? Okay, if you go, that's part of it, like, when you go, like, let's say they have an agenda, you're a part of it.
You all have HRC name tags, badges, anything?
No, I was just, I was just gonna say that back in the day, what I know about, in-person meetings, because I came here after, during pandemic times. We did order a plate that goes historically. Boards and commissions used to meet up city council chambers. So that's the closest thing to a name tag. It's a little metal plate with your name in it. That's all we have for now.
But we can, it's easy to get them. Not a problem.
I think it might be something for the HRC to consider. So then when you walk into those spaces and you're representing the HRC, it's on your name tag. And so people know, oh, I need help, I need resources, I'm gonna go talk to Anna. Or I've been really wondering about what's happening with this issue at city council. There's an HRC member, I'm gonna go talk to JH. So it's just that visual reminder to people, again, that role that you play in the community. So when you walk into those spaces, you can, again, kind of leverage your power for the community you're serving. Carlos, did you have something?
Sí, yo iba a decir lo siguiente, por ejemplo, ahorita menciona Elizabeth que viene el evento del Día del Indígena. Entonces, ellos nos dicen, va a haber este evento, pero no nos dicen, va a ir el héroe. El que guste asistir puede asistir. Entonces, nosotros, si yo quiero, puedo asistir. Lo que hago yo es de que me gusta asistir casi a todos los eventos.
Is he interpreting? No.
I can, Sorry, this is Tanya, the interpreter. I took consecutive. I can interpret. Sorry. Um,
Thank you.
So for example, Elizabeth was mentioning Indigenous Peoples Day, and so people are going to ask us, well, where is it? Who's going? And I can go. I mean, I really like to go to these events. I find it interesting. Adelante.
So it sounds like there's gonna be a time later to talk more about how do we make this happen? How do we make sure you all know about events and can attend, and then can also share with the community when they are. Phenomenal. Time check, do I still have till 6:15? Is that okay?
Yes.
So as you're looking at your work plan, I also want you to just keep referring back to these ideas about how to engage with the community. Because earlier on, when you all shared why you wanted to join the HRC, it really was about changing the community. So much of that happens in those relationships you develop, in hearing directly from community members, and not often in these kinds of meetings, right? You all express frustration with the bureaucracy. Actually doing a lot of this will make you feel much more connected to the community and help them navigate the bureaucracy better. So it's a way that you personally can really start to shift some of those dynamics. In our last 15 minutes together, I want to talk about how you work together as HRC members. What do you expect from each other? How do you want to show up for each other? How do you make sure that you all work together well when you do come into these spaces together? So just shout out. What do you expect or want to see from your fellow HRC commissioners?
Sharing our experiences and the community, like, you know.
Let's say more. You're going somewhere.
I don't know, like, I think I asked some people this one and like probably, you know, which is one of the HRC, kind of the goal should be, it's proposing, you know, solution, you know, like if something happened to in my community or in any of us, like we express like a solution and together, you know, because there's not always one solution. Orientation, exactly.
Yeah. Solution oriented in brainstorming. Because I heard you saying you want to hear from a number of people about how those issues can be addressed. Right. What else? This could also be thinking about, as you're adding new members, what's going well that you want to make sure is maintained. What allows you all to be effective right now? Okay. Please go ahead, Carlos.
Es la comunicación.
Communication.
Say more about what you want to see in communication.
Yo creo que también es más también tener comunicación entre nosotros, porque a veces entre los comisionados, porque a veces no la tenemos. Por ejemplo, J.H. puede llamarme y preguntarme, Carlos, ¿qué hay?
So I think it's more important for us to have communication between us. Like JD could call me up and say, hey, Carlos, what's going on? We don't have a lot of communication between us.
I agree.
That's a great point. Yeah. Again, you all represent such important communities and perspectives within Boulder that you should be able to communicate with each other outside of meetings. Of course, following sunshine laws, but really developing those relationships and relying on one another. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what Carlos said makes total sense. I don't think. Well, I know Ingrid's phone number, but I don't think I know anybody else's phone number here. It's true, it's like, I don't know, like, that's like, what Carlos brings is, it's a true reality to show like, you know, I used to have like, probably, I still have Art's phone number, and what's her name, Lindsay?
Mhm. Yep.
What's the name of Lindsay? Yeah, but like, right now, I think I have her phone number. I do, yeah, but it's like, it's like that, I agree with Carlos on that part, like,
I'm tired, Pop, so I have to text.
yeah.
See? Critical, critical service.
Connections. Yeah.
Y por ejemplo,
So for example,
nos encontramos Ace y yo
so
en un lugar.
maybe we meet up with each other at a place, it's, somewhere.
Sí,
You wanna go?
Yeah, that was pretty bad. I was at the restaurant and I saw Carlos. I didn't even know it was. I was like, oh wow.
I would just make it, if I may, just the observation, and Ingrid mentioned this earlier, that for this commission and lots of our boards and commissions and committees, the last 3 years have been really challenging. Whereas before COVID, meetings were only ever taking place in person. And many of them were at city council chambers, other city buildings, people were gathering. I don't think any of us have truly effectively kind of made these transitions. And as we know, technology is still a barrier when it comes to interpretation. And so we appreciate your patience, and I think we can all give each other a little bit of grace in trying to figure out, how do we get back to this communication patterns that really feel good, natural, effective, supportive. And I don't think we're there yet. And participating in Zoom meetings is hard for everybody. You were traveling last time, you've got, kids, it's hard to be on camera the whole time. Again, interpretation challenge. So I just wanted to say that I think we're all have work to do to continue as a group to figure out what does work best. And we as staff are 100% committed to helping that along. And it's very helpful to us for you to say, like, this is not working for me, or this really worked well. And then we will absolutely, do our best. So whatever it is, the more that you can tell us, like, this is what I need to be able, as Nia said, like, show up and really be effective. That's what we're here to make happen. So we appreciate that. We're not going to get in the middle of how you communicate with each other within sunshine laws, but for meetings and, is email communication effective? Is it not? We can, try to help make these bridges.
Oh, I think I agree with what you said, but I think more on a personal level. Too, because one thing I do believe in is that we each probably have a group in the community we belong to. Like I do. And I know some of them are going through, some of them, I can help, some of them I don't know, I can help us. So I think in a personal level, it would be good at least to get to know each other better as well. And one thing I want to add to what you say is communication is good with emails for me. I don't know for anyone else, but as right now, I'm the oldest member of the HRC. And I remember when I joined in, there were people who had 2 terms, 3 terms, whatever. So now we don't have that. They had a framework, you know, I'm not saying by not having someone with experience, it's is a bad thing. But how do we build that again? Where, you know, I used to communicate with Lindsay a lot because she knew if I want to say something. Now, like I said, Carlos, it's where I say the communication, you know, is a little, it's not about the email you guys have. It's about, it's an example. I had a friend that was transgender that came here that got really discriminated against. And then what I did was I reached out to Lindsay. I said, you know, I'm gonna give that, you know, can I get that person, can I make a connection? And Lindsay helped. And I think it could be the same way if I knew Carlos' phone number or, you know, things like that, where it would create that instead of calling Ingrid, you know, for everything. So I don't know if that makes sense to you. I think it will be that, but you know, I think communication is one, and not having the experience, like I said, I didn't learn a lot from these people that were there, you know, or like Art, like Lindsay, I went to coffee with that guy many times, I forget the name.
Other members,
Solomon.
other members.
Solomon, yeah, he, you know, because they were there for 2 terms, some of like 3. Where you can learn, they say, oh, here's what works, and yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is, first off, learning more about each other, so you can be more supportive. But also building in what we call succession planning. You all know what that means in this context, succession planning, a little bit. So part of it is putting those structures in place, but it can also look like formal mentorship. So having folks who are on their 2nd or 3rd term, helping folks in their 1st term understand how the HRC works, and kind of doing that buddy system. But it means that you're always helping the next people come in, get up to speed, be ready, and then you're also thinking about who are our next leaders? Who's going to take over chair of this HRC? How do we make sure we're recruiting more people onto the HRC with those kinds of experiences? So you're always thinking about the future while also dealing with the current structure. Anything else people want to add about communication? Any preferences or things you'd like to share with the group? How about virtual meetings? Are there any norms you would like? Again, to either maintain things that have been going well and how virtual meetings happen, or things you'd like to change?
I think the meetings goes well. I don't think there's a problem with the meetings. I think the how would I put it to you? The core, the meaning of the meetings. Okay, let me put it that way. The meeting MEANING.
The meat of the meetings?
Meetings.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's hard because like I said, it's, you know, it's the group I think Lindsay was part of. They work on the bathroom, what do you call it, universal?
Gender neutral.
Gender neutral
Oh, yeah.
bathrooms.
Oh,
So,
bathrooms, yeah.
you know, it works. So us, like I said, in 3 years I've been here, we never work on anything. So it's not because the community doesn't need help, but how do we do that? Like, you know, and again, I'm the oldest member, you know, from the pandemic, but still, I don't know how to proceed with that. Do I have ideas? Yes, I have plenty. And how do you even start?
Yeah.
I don't know. And the other part of it is, like I said, one of the being in the church, you know, book for the HRC is to propose stuff to the city council. Since I've been there, we never really done that. Then there's,
Yeah, so working on specific projects where you feel like you can really see the difference.
it's different, exactly.
And then figuring out how to engage with city council.
Yeah.
Yeah. So virtual meetings are working, it sounds like. When people join, are they joining on camera? Does that make a difference?
I think that's first off. I don't know. Is it normal for people to join the camera or you have to make it?
It is. The expectation is that everybody turns their camera
Well,
on.
And then, are you all able to jump in and give perspectives on things? Yeah. So let's pretend you're recruiting new members for the HRC. If you were to tell them that this is some of the expectations you have of them joining, how would that feel? Good, supportive, missing something? Dinner putting us all into slight comas right now. Empanadas. Oh, so good.
Quick
Yeah.
question, would you all, and obviously Christine, we are missing, so we will bring her up to speed and get all of her input. Would you prefer to have virtual meetings moving forward, or do you want to have in-person meetings instead? Does it help you engage better? Is it easier for you? More challenging,
Let's do
a
just
mix of both?
a straw poll. I'm gonna give you three options. In person, virtual, or both. So kind of going back and forth. How many prefer virtual meetings? How many prefer in person? In person. Two for in person. How many want a mix of both? Okay.
So Christine,
Consensus.
Yeah. Either way, though, it sounds like more in person.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, I have to wrap up. I have to go facilitate a meeting in Longmont now. But I just really want to hit on this communication between meetings. You all have such incredible backgrounds and experiences that, first off, I want to get to know every one of you. But to be able to leverage that in the HRC will require connecting outside of meetings. So if you do nothing else, make sure you have each other's numbers today before you leave. And maybe try to set something up between now and your next meeting, just so you get to know each other. Again, I thank you so much for your work. The HRC is so incredibly important. I live up in Longmont, but we're actually trying to create an HRC up there. And we're basing it a lot on the work being done here. So I thank you so much, and thanks so much for having me in, Ingrid.
Thank you, Nia.
Thank you, Nia.
Grab another empanada on your way out.
Is yours great? Yeah, let's take a little break, stretch, and get some more water. Get something sweet.
Right there.
the sweet empanadas are acquired taste.
Yeah.
You think?
I think so. I like it.
I
but
tried
think
one with powdered sugar.
Love this place.
It's so good.
Carlos? Do you know
The
bathroom
bathrooms
there in
that we need one are
Marshall?
this
Yes, I know one.
Okay,
Yes.
good. She should know you.
Yeah,
Okay,
she, yeah, maybe she remembers.
okay, good.
Yeah.
You're a good community connector. Yeah. Thank you, Ingrid.
Thank you, Nia.
We'll be in touch.
No.
I got feelings, it's a lot, so, and I'm the oldest member, and I just graduated, but he,
Shout it.
I don't know how to do it, it's hard. It's like, I've been talking to a friend to see how I can propose something to, but, I don't know how to.
I'm not. How can we move forward with?
Oh,
your ideas?
you're from Ukraine, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know a few people here now, that move in, maybe I should try to connect with some of them.
It's like.
Yeah, I heard from.
Or like. I think so, I don't know. It kind of felt like bagel with cream cheese.
It's.
Oh, it is? That's that one is only chocolate.
It's 303,
Oh, that's not the one I got. Look,
882,
I got like.
no, yeah,
Wait.
303. No, that's my name.
What's this sauce for? I know it's chimichurri. Is it for the salad?
It's for meats. Anything with meat in it.
I love chimichurri sauce.
It's delicious.
I just didn't understand where to put it right now.
Right here, it's 303, 882, 882.
Interpreters, I just wanna
Or you can just call me and I'll.
do a quick check-in. Are you all good?
Do you like that place, Carlos? Yeah, the corn bar?
You look
Good place.
like this.
Yeah, I go there like when it's late, because
You keep
Listo?
going. Awesome. Tienes que meterle bien. There you go. Elizabeth is gonna share the screen for a minute, but we're gonna go back to that agenda and if you have any additions or edits that you wanna make at this point, please do so. And we're gonna move the HRC work plan discussion before the HRC elections conversation, but we're gonna get to, hopefully, to the elections as well. It's a small kind of review that we need to do, but we're gonna go over the work plan discussion right now. I do wanna provide you all with an overview first of the work plan. So as a reminder, the
Sorry,
work
where?
plan.
There.
No, okay, there we go. We're going to go over the work plan that is really a map, is a roadmap that is going to lead your work moving forward. So as we have discussed in the past and is outlined in the manual, the HRC has a very unique set of details that should be included in your work plan, right? So in your role, you should hear from the city council to provide you with instructions of what are some of those items that potentially you can work on. And then you also can see areas of interest that are in alignment with the work plan of city council in order to kind of complement that. I created this kind of wall for all of us to kind of go over the structure. Anna is new, and I think it would be a good refresher for everybody to remind ourselves where the HRC is. So do you know who they are? Kind of first image we have there. We do have city council as a body. Those are the current city council members and their names, and you can take a look later. And then we do have our city manager, Nuria. And then we go down to the boards, commissions, and council that have very specific roles and responsibilities. So policy, who works in policy is city council. The administration of it oversees the functions of the departments. And boards and commissions have a very specific role of advising on policy delegated by council, and also look into what are some of those recommendations that council could take into consideration for their future work plans. Council is the one that sets policy, adopts legislation, but the Human Relations Commission is one of many commissions that work in specific issues like environmental issues, transportation. Here's the Boulder Junction, Anna, that you have been sitting on and providing updates to the commission. There's the Parks and Rec, there's the Downtown Management, the Arts Commission, and so on. So your scope of work among all of the functions in each specific board and commission is very specific. So one of them is, as I said, and one of the reasons why we're here is creating that work plan that is going to lead the work for the year ahead of you. So here are some more details on the functions that actually JH cited earlier on fostering mutual respect, or I believe that was figure. And then there was another one here, advising a city government in relating human and social services. That was the one that JH addressed. But the common theme among all of these functions is that you're helping the city addressing social issues. And that is very broad, right? Again, one of the guiding principles is creating this plan, informing city council on what you propose to work on for the next year. And usually that letter goes out around November or so, or early December, because city council hosts or has their annual retreat at the beginning of the year, of the calendar year. So that's something to keep in mind as we're working on those potential items that we're gonna go over. We're gonna review what are some of those pending working items for the year 2022-2023, and then being able to identify opportunities and potential new items for you to carry on for the year to come. Elizabeth?
Yeah, so I think that in the this past, or well, it's still 2023. So earlier in this year, and even at the retreat last year, when Lucas came and you were not on at this time on from our city attorney's office and went through kind of the roles and the responsibilities, the processes. There is, as Ingrid said, times when city council will say, HRC, we would like you to help us with this. We would like you to advise on this policy. However, there are times then when you as well can say, this is an issue we really want to talk about and research and explore and hear from community members. And what we, Ingrid and I have tried to do is kind of help that those conversations along. And make sure that in that communication to council, you all are spending time on things that are important to you, that's within your role. And we know as staff that people want to hear from you, right? We don't want to set you up into a situation where you say, we're all interested in this topic, but it's not anything that the city can do anything about. Or maybe it falls on the task list of another commission. So that's where the communication about kind of what goes on this work plan is very much like a two-way street, or even three, right? If we include city council. So what we want to do today is just kind of review some of those items that you have talked about this past year and indicated that you really want, at least the conversation at the time was, things that you wanted to continue to talk about. You wanted to reach out to city council, ask them if they would like to hear from you, indicate your interest, and then also bring to you some potential new issues that have not been on your plate yet, but that either previously have been a task for the Human Relations Commission, and so they could again, and brand new opportunities like Child-Friendly Cities Initiative and others. So that's kind of how we're proposing we have this discussion now, would be to kind of talk about what have you already talked about this year that you would like to continue to move forward, and how can we help do that? And then what are some of these potential new issues? And then I think coming back to the how and what some of the ideas were that we talked about with Nia earlier, so that we really are kind of leaving this meeting with an understanding of what are the things that would go on meetings, right? What do you want to accomplish? What are those outcomes? So that we can help structure those for the rest of this year and then leading into next year. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Great.
Any questions about what Ingrid shared earlier? It's a lot. There's not a whole lot of language in the actual kind of ordinance. The manual about how we do things is much longer, but the functions are pretty, there's not very much text there, but that could include everything that happens in the city. And that's really not the intention. It has to be something where it's where those things meet, right? It's interest, for you, it is part of your function, and it's recognized as that. It's a place where your role can be really helpful, right? There aren't any other committees or commissions or boards that are doing that exact thing. or a collaborative approach, something like that.
So from items and conversations that you had in the past year, what are some of the things that you can name or recall on there's still threads of that pending or work that is still pending, or that are items that kind of felt like that could need more work or that you want to move forward with?
I don't, I have to look at my emails to see.
Okay.
I kind of feel the same.
It's a little bit foggy.
And in many, I mean, I understand the reasons that behind that is, we haven't had monthly meetings. B, there's been still lingering pieces of the restructure, right? This year is when the funding piece was relocated, and also we've been working on the future, right? And the now, but what's ahead for you all. As a refresher, you did have in the last previous months, you did have a conversation about protected classes, and I believe that there was a draft letter that you, Fikir and Christine, were working on. Are you able to provide the rest of the commission with an update on that?
We haven't really worked on it much in a while,
Okay,
so I think Christine and I need to like do something.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going through my emails to kind of jog my memory on certain things.
Yeah.
And that's okay. We can,
Yeah.
we're here to help. It's not a test, right? But
Yeah.
So, I have to read it for things like that.
Okay. Carlos, do you recall any of the items that were spoken about, or?
I'm looking, I think there was a thing that I was really interested in, and then it fell off. It was about
Me recuerda que ahorita vengo haciendo memoria que
I remember
la jefa de la policía con el más.
the chief police,
Este jueves pasado tengo una
so
reunión
the day after tomorrow, on Thursday, I have a meeting
de este departamento de policía.
with the police department.
Y yo creo que voy
I
a
think
reunión y cuando tenga lo que se
I
hable.
will get together when there is something to talk about.
so the reimagining police, that's one thing our colleague Wendy Schwartz and Chief Harold came to the HRC to share kind of those windows of kind of engagement where they were taking input. They are going to be presenting the finished plan to City Council on September 7, unless that date changes. I believe it's September 7th. It will be at a City Council meeting. So that could be one of those opportunities for, we can send out the information for you. It's a lot to keep track, but City Council meetings are on Thursdays. But if that's something that you're interested in, they're also always recorded, but you could go listen, and then there will be next steps after the plan. If City Council approves it, then we'll go to, now how are we going, is the police department going to be engaging to put the plan into action? So if that's something that you all are going to be interested in, then it's certainly something where we can help let you know, here are the next milestones, and indicate that you're interested, you want to hear more. You'd like to know how the engagement is happening. You want to attend meetings like the City Council meeting on September 7. You're more than welcome to do that. That'll be the next milestone for that plan.
What will be the topic about regarding this police department?
Do you want to go ahead? Sorry, I just jumped in and started
Go
talking.
ahead. Go ahead.
It's so when a department in the city creates what we call a master plan, it means kind of a strategy with a description of what they want to achieve, what their role is, activities or goals that they have that might be different from the past years. So it's a plan or strategy that is meant to be over a long period of time, not just here's what we're going to do in 2024, but here's, the work that we want to do and what impact we want to have over the next several years. And so this plan called Reimagining Police has been a process that has taken a couple of years, maybe a little bit more than that now, to accomplish. And so on September 7, they will be presenting, here's the plan. And then the next steps are to put that into action. So that's something just kind of you might be interested in going to that city council meeting.
Will I be able to talk about it?
There, for every city council meeting, there's an opportunity to make public comment. And there are, if that's,
Okay, there's something else.
that would definitely be something we can share. Again, that's your right as your ability for people who live in Boulder.
Yeah.
And, as an HRC member, it would be good for you to know what that process is in case you are talking to other people that would want to know how to participate.
Is that plan presented by police? No.
They had, so our colleague, Wendy Schwartz and Chief Harold were the two people who presented to the HRC about the Reimagining Police Plan last spring. I'm trying to remember exactly when that was.
Yeah.
Or maybe last winter, actually.
It
Could
was
have been
winter.
back in the winter.
Yeah.
And Wendy has been helping work on this plan. She's not a member of the police department, but has been working on this plan. And they've also had some other consultants. So we can find out exactly who's presenting, but it will probably be a combination of all those people. Sure.
Wonder if it will be helpful for me to share the link to the HRC meeting where they came and present. Because Anna was not there and I can share the link. Remember that all the meetings that you participated in are public record and they are available in the HRC website of the city, along with your contact information, each other's contact information. So I'm happy to share the link and then follow, share the link or the webpage of City Council for you to watch the meeting, the September 7 meeting.
What I wanna know is is Chief Harold will be presenting that or somebody else?
Chief Harold, right?
Yeah, okay.
And Wendy.
It'll probably be several people who are taking, it's typically for something like that, not just one person presenting, probably several people.
Now the plan is reimagining police.
Yep. And agendas and materials for city council meetings, regardless of which meeting and what the issues are always posted ahead of time. And so it's very easy for us, if that's helpful for you all, for any council meeting, for us to provide that information to you directly. We're more than happy
You say
to
it's
help do that. September 7.
They start at 6.
And I'm a little upset with her. I think she's going.
I'm sorry, what?
I think that chief police here is extremely cooperative. Yeah, extremely. Like, I'm serious about it. Like, these guys did something to me. It's like the report came out, I think, last night. They sent us a video where they caught it. and they say it's in the system, there's a problem, they can fix it. They exonerated the two police officers that followed me to the bank and to my shop and made an appointment because they blamed the bank. While the bank said, I've never called them. So I think I'll go to that meeting. I want to say something. Because I realize it's either I start yelling or somebody, shoot me one day. Because I don't think it's fair for people to have that kind of power where you feel things. This thing happened in February. They said, 2 weeks, so they would vote. Until last night. I don't know if that makes sense. That's March, April, May, June, July, August. And the saddest part of it was I don't know, if she reads it, I don't know, I have to say, because, she signs under that thing, which I feel like, I don't know, somehow, if somebody is doing wrong, they should have the consequence. It's I don't know how to put it.
Any of you, and you already know this, you are people who live in the community to come to any city council meeting, voice your perspective, follow through, like that's your right for being a person in this community. And so, yeah.
How long do I give you to talk there?
Is it 2 minutes?
Yes.
3 minutes?
2 minutes.
But we can share the link
Yeah.
for where you can sign up. Everything's on the kind of goes through the webpage, but it's pretty easy process once you find the link. So we'll be happy to send that to you. And again, that's information, just going back to the HRC role as well, where people know it's a good process for you to be familiar with, right? If people in the community recognize and similarly say, I don't know how to speak at a council meeting. How do I do that? Where do I find the information? For you all to know that, again, regardless of the issue or the meeting is really good.
And
So-
always, if requested in advance, there could be interpretation provided in any language. So, yeah.
So for September 7, we've got shared link for city council meeting and kind of information about how to sign up to speak.
Yeah.
And then share the link, the video recording from the meeting where they presented, if you wanted to review that. And then obviously the plan has progressed
Yeah.
since then. They'll be on the website,
Uploaded.
the agenda, other materials. And do you feel like moving ahead, maybe you don't know yet, but will be or could be interest in continuing to hear about milestones with that plan, since it's something that had already been presented to you all this year? You want to wait and see? You don't have to know now, but if you do.
Yeah. I don't know, I think it would be good to hear about it, because I feel like, how do I put it? There are certain things until you're the victim of it, you really ignore the impact it could have in someone that that's not in your shoes, like that, talking about it all wants to change, or wants make a difference, so.
And
Okay.
then, is there anything else from last year?
One of the other presentations that again, our colleague Wendy presented was about the co-responder program. If you remember that one, the city currently has a program where a mental health professional will accompany a police officer when a 911 call is made and there's not been a crime committed, but somebody is having mental health or behavioral health trauma. And we're now putting into place a program that would have mental health professionals and emergency response personnel, not police at all, going to help people, again, where there's not been a crime committed, but people are in trauma and need assistance. So that program we're working on rolling that out now. There will be evaluations in place. Again, like that's one of the topics on which you all kind of heard a presentation and provided a lot of input during the meetings, and some of it between the meetings and kind of after, where Lindsay helped kind of gather comments and sent them over. So that could be another example if you were to say if you wanted to hear updates about that, it's certainly something else that we would be able to communicate to our colleagues and potentially share with you all.
I'd like that.
Yeah.
I feel like that and the police oversight. The one we were just discussing about, or just big changes to the community that I think we should be aware of.
Let me ask you a question about that one. Is that one, who's working on that, you say?
It's a collaboration between our Housing and Human Services staff. So we in our department is kind of where the mental health providers kind of live, right, within the city structure. But it's a partnership between our department and the fire department, which manages the emergency response. So you see like the EMT staff, those come from fire department, not police. And so it's a fire department, Housing Human Services Department collaboration.
Yeah, that's good. I want to hear about that, because yeah. Because I think there are a lot of abuse by the police when somebody has a mental health situation too. Like, where instead of
Helping people is
helping
just
people, yeah,
no problem.
it's like an example I have, and well, I will not say just the police, but I think people here too abuse that as well. Cause I remember I was driving in my neighborhood, there was a guy, he just got out of the car and just started yelling. And then somebody called the car. The next thing you know, he's in a car. And go to jail. So I think I agree, somebody like that doesn't need a car. You know, and I've seen so many people mental breakdown. Yeah, it's insane. It's like, you know, Boulder might be wealthy, but I have to tell you, there are a lot of people here that's struggling a lot, and sometimes their only way out is having a breakdown? You know, because I've seen it a lot, like, you know, like even on my field, somebody will come in and then you said, oh, that card is $5,000 of work, and then next thing you do, you turn it on, that person is saying that after like 50 times walking on it. But it's not a problem they have to hear. It's just
the stress.
the stress. Just yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Is there anything else?
No, that's good. But I think the other thing I want is that I'm working on like having like a letter sending out to, but I want it public. I want to make sure you understand that. Like when I prove, like if I am a member of the HRC, I think, you know, Chief Harold knows that there's no, you know, she saw me in meetings. I think in 2 meetings since I've been a member. And when you, like, treat me, who's looking to enforce that way, what about someone with, like, no paper. You understand? Like someone who is not having their statutes legalized yet. Or someone who would have been afraid, okay, of them when they walk in, when they try to scare me, you know, like if I was not a strong man that day, I would just like hate. So why, like my thing about it is like, is there a way I can, you know, make the HRC aware of that? Because what I mean by it is like, I feel like there is okay, I'm gonna summarize it to make you understand. So I think I talked to you, I asked you about that. You said to talk to the Boulder Police Oversight Panel. I did.
There's a mechanism, yeah.
Yeah, make a, how do you call it?
There's a process, a
Yeah, a
mechanism
follow-up
for you to.
process. So when you
report
do that, and the Police Oversight Panel gets evidence from them.
Guess
just a
what,
letter-
I'm sorry?
Evidences from them, just a letter from me. When you already forge those evidence to send to the Bullet Oversight Panel, and you, in the end, like, you made me wait for like 6 months. I think that's 6 months, February, that's March, April, May, June, July, August, 7 months, to give me a report that has only 3 paragraphs. Okay, in the end, all you said to me is, we are sorry that happened. I don't think that's fair to the community. And then claim in the report, like talk about what happened in 1 paragraph, just 1. And talk about, oh yeah, we will make some recommendation for new training. While the person that was at the bank has no reason behind something. White guy walk in, until now, we still don't know, because the person they claim that did the fraudulent thing, the bank doesn't know. And you have like, my thing with it is like, when you put me in a situation like that, I'm telling you, if somebody comes to do that to me again at my shop, it's not gonna end the same way. Because I know at the end of the day, there's no justice there. There's not. Somebody, I'm telling you, like, I'm not gonna tolerate someone to treat me less anymore because you carry a gun. I can carry one too. It's either I die standing up or it's end the right way. Because my whole thing about that situation was, I don't think my goal was never to sue the city. That's not my goal. My goal is to get justice from these guys, where they use their power. But when you have like Chief Harold that's covering them up, I think someone like me, I need to speak. And I don't know if I can, if you know, there's a way as members to, if I can share everything with you too as well, with what I have, what they caught on these videos, the audios and stuff like that, like where they say, oh no, it's our technology. Where the only part they keep, that's one part they keep, you can hear clear, is when they admit the guy called me to apologize. That's it. No other part of those videos works. So I don't think that's fair. You know, I'm not, but I think in the end, like, I want to send a letter out to the public. You know, I want to make sure that I say I'm a member of the HRC, but I don't think I will engage the HRC as well, because it's my personal situation. But I think, you know, if there's a way to make it more public, I would like that. You know, because I think if I have been treating that way, there are others that's been treating worse than me. And I'm telling you, that thing cost me so far $7,000. You pay lawyers to go with them to, because they wouldn't even talk to me. I set 6 different appointments with a guy there named McAllister, who was an investigator. He plays game like more than anybody you could ever imagine.
So a couple things I'm thinking of, and your colleagues will need to weigh in here, right? But in terms of the HRC role, and Ingrid will address a little bit later on where there might be some opportunities for different kinds of advisory groups to actually for you to engage with them, where there might be a little bit of overlap in role or responsibility. But a couple of things have changed since Amy Kane, our city colleague, presented on the police oversight panel, is that we do now have a new independent monitor who's stepping in. That role has been vacant for a while. And that person is starting quite soon. It could be an opportunity for you to engage with them if you want. There's now, we still have a police oversight panel, right? Where there's, again, as Ingrid said, there are mechanisms for kind of taking those situations, hearing them out, right? So it may not necessarily be the HRC's role to hear, to kind of process that complaint, if you will, because there is a police oversight panel and independent monitor, but it certainly could be a conversation you could have with them. Do you want to have them come and present? Do you want to go to those meetings? We can help explore what that would look like, right?
See,
And
talking about
enable you to be within your HRC role.
person you say that started?
The new independent monitor for the police.
Mhm. So this person will oversee the police oversight panel. I know those are really big words. It's like the police monitor, independent monitor, and the oversight panel. So the panel is formed by community members. And then the independent police monitor is a person that oversees the panel. Does that make sense? So this is a new hire. It's a new person that will start, I believe,
I was just looking at the press
Yeah.
release. Soon.
soon. And
August 21, so yesterday.
there you go. He just started. So it's an opportunity that you have as a commission to get to know more about the structure, maybe get to know this person. And
Well, I would like to get to know this person, because I'm telling you, I'm at a point right now where maybe I feel like that happened to me. It's me to sacrifice myself to make a change. And it's like 2 weeks ago, we had a meeting, like we have a group of just black men. Me. Among us, okay, we have 4 guys. One of them, how would I put it? I think he was guilty of the charges they gave him. But 3 of them, they couldn't, it's like someone knocked on your door and they decided, okay, you look like you need a ticket for something. But they usually criminal, things. Well, because they were misinformed, like me, like I said, I have a good group that shows me around quite a bit. If anything happens, I can speak for myself. I know quite a bit, but they just go with the process. They can't stand up for themselves. They're afraid. They're like, they think if a police decides to like one of them, let me put that for you. One of them was driving from South Boulder at that place where they drink to home. The cop stopped him and just said, I smell alcohol. He gave him his driver's license and everything without the breathalyzer to check the level of alcohol, or give him a sobriety. He gave him a DUI. And that kid had to have that thing, in his car for 2 years. That's a lot of money. But because he was misinformed, because he didn't know, and I'm building that to know, like everyone they have done. These guys, they never could make a complaint. They never did, because they think if they make it, it's gonna be against them or somebody gonna create a problem. So my whole thing with those things is like, how many members that I don't know they do that to? But if you make a complaint, if they knew to make a complaint, these people probably may not be a company member, and that's just not part of it. And when you have a chief that, I make a complaint, they fiddle, that's the way they call it, like with the evidences, and treat me like that. What about people? And I think if I can make with those people, I'm serious. I'm dealing with it myself. And after I spent $7,000, I could have used that for my kids. I could have traveled. And then you stood there. It's like I feel like it's a sad situation where I do follow the process, but you still walk over me. And you still have more voice than me in the community where you're doing abuse. I don't think that's fair. So, I think if I can get as many information that I can, as many people I can contact, I would love that to, I know it's gonna be a long process, but I'm happy with that. So,
For other commissioners, what is your interest in hearing from or meeting with the new independent police monitor or following up on police oversight panel processes? That sort of thing.
My interest how he's independent and corporation. Why?
But yes.
Because I don't know if how he can be independent. Yeah, each who appoint this person and
So about
Okay.
just
this person.
what is the role? How does it work? What's process? All of those questions.
is that person, what is that person on next cop, if that makes sense?
You know what? I'd have to read the press release again.
Oh,
I don't believe
is
so.
there a press release? Oh, okay.
We can forward it to you.
Okay.
For
That's
sure.
on the- when you have an ex-cop investigating a cop, so.
Okay. We can definitely add that to the list.
Yep.
Very timely. Okay.
I feel like that's kind of a good segue to the potential new items. I feel like maybe we don't notice too much progress with the HRC because we don't really choose to focus on one thing. You know, there's so much that we focus on and we meet on, different times and different things are important to each of us. So I wonder if like saying for the next 3 months, let's dedicate our time and energy to making a change in this. And then the next 3 months, like what we can agree on something, that we think aligns with the HRC goals. And then see if we can focus on the traffic, because like Anna mentioned, rent prices being extremely high. And is there anything we can do about that? But I don't know if one meeting, a 20-minute discussion is going to resolve it. But if we just say like, we're gonna dedicate 3 months to doing that. And then we say we're gonna dedicate 3 months into looking into the police oversight and seeing if we can make a change. Then, you know what I mean? I don't know if you guys agree. I don't know if that's like, also that takes away from us maybe exploring a lot of topics because we're only focusing on a few things throughout the year. I don't know what's important.
I think there's a couple ways to look at it, Victor, because remember that each item or each topic, as you're calling it, also comes with a set of actions and progress that usually do my check in 1 month, and then within a month and a half, the progress has been like hiring that person, right? Because that is a very comprehensive process of opening the position, interviewing candidates, and going through the selection process. So I don't know how fast are you gonna be able to address a topic or an issue within 3 months. So perhaps is creating a priority list on the topics that you want to focus on, and then get a pulse on where are we at with the city, what the city is doing, what council is doing, what kind of like actions are being taken. And then moving to another topic and do the same. Because I feel like sometimes maybe it's a matter of awareness among yourselves on following those topics. Because a lot of work gets done over time, but being able to go back to it and getting the updates might be more efficient than blocking a chunk of time where progress month to month might not be as speedy.
Yeah, that makes,
Does that make sense?
yeah.
But that's certainly something that's part of our job, right? Is
Yeah.
to say, okay, like, okay, remember that presentation from back in December on reimagining police? Now September 7th, that's the next milestone, or, you know, so it might not
Yeah.
follow a block of time that's short, but
Yeah.
to make sure you're aware of where
Yeah.
Things have
you-
progressed.
things have
yeah.
progressed and are the next step in
Yeah.
engagement. Or if you were to say like, beyond just don't inform us about that, but here's how we want to be able to engage.
But on the
Again,
other
it's
on
two
the other
ways.
side, I do believe to you, like, if you look at it, you know, I don't think any of us remember any of those topics we talked
It's a long
about.
time ago.
I think it's and a lot. And
Yep.
how do you focus?
Mhm.
It's like me, I have a technician mind. Okay, the car comes in, I diagnose the car, I find the problem, I order the parts, fix it, car's out.
Right.
But I feel like, I'm not saying life should be that way, that's not what I'm saying, because, but what I'm trying to explain is, it's like, how do you grab an item, you work on it, be done, and you switch to the next, instead of, you know, like I will switch to the next car, instead of like, oh, I touched this car, and I touched the next one, and I touched the next one.
Right.
In the end, I got to a point where like, I feel like, what am I
Well,
doing?
one. Yep.
I haven't finished any of the cars.
Yeah,
so-
exactly, but that's the thing, like, when you talk
It's so true.
so many things, you realize, you know, we don't remember certain of them.
Yeah.
And some of them, very,
So what are some of the tools and mechanisms that I or we can put together for you to be able to follow through? Is it a table where we set like the date and the time in a few notes? And then the next touch point, and then the next touch point? Or is it notes that you take? Is it a notebook that we give you? What is it? Is it paper? Is it an Excel spreadsheet? Is it a Word? What is it that you need besides the minutes that can help you kind of bring those topics to the forefront before the meeting, for instance? If we're having a next touch point on a topic, what could help you prepare for it? In other words, for you to remember, like, oh yeah, that's where the conversation was left at. What is it that you all need? What could be helpful?
I'm a spreadsheet person. If it's not in one document with bullet points or a spreadsheet with dates, who said they were going to do this thing and when, you know, it goes in my mind. Or other people like appreciate like an actual chart, right? Or a graphic or something like that. But, and again, maybe you don't know now, but it's something where if you're like, you know, it would be helpful. Could you do this for us? Could you help with that? Could we set that up? That's
Think about it.
helps us to be able to say, absolutely.
yeah, that's like, okay, let me put it that way. Which I never knew, I hope that you don't think I'm an idiot with that one. So you guys.
Nobody thinks that.
You guys prepare the minutes, correct?
I take minutes of every meeting. And those are public record as well. And I share them too.
No, I totally understand, like, you prepare that, correct?
Yeah.
So you get the infos
From the conversation at each meeting. So everything that is said in a meeting, in your meetings, I take notes of that.
I do understand, like, okay, let me put it that way. When you prepare, let's say we have a meeting next month,
Mhm.
okay? How do you prepare that? Where do you get the topics?
Oh, the agenda,
Agenda.
the chair and the co-chair, which we're gonna talk about elections in a minute.
Got it.
Yeah.
And so I think at this point, that's, that's probably our responsibility to, because I never knew where it's come from. So, does
Okay.
that make sense?
Mhm.
It's just something that come out. I think it needs to be more of a group instead of the chair and the co-chair that makes the decision to say, I think that's a, what I put it, like, it just come out, okay, if we can, like, at least, because otherwise, let's say Carlos and Christina come in, is that the president and vice president, chair and co-chair? No.
We don't have a chair
We don't
right
have
now.
a chair yet, but that'll be
Okay.
the next
So let me
agenda
put it
item.
that way. There is no comment, I feel like, interested to me. It's just, we will always be in that roller where it will never end, because I would rather it Vicar said, like, we focus on the certain things and then we make sure like we get them done instead of like, out of nowhere, you just get a minute and then, send it to
Mhm.
Christine, and grade, and then
Sure.
it's, it's like, I don't know.
And I would say it's not completely out of nowhere, right? So when we have meetings with the chair, like with Lindsay, right, who's the past chair, we would say, as a reminder, here's what you all talked about last time. This is what the commissioner said you wanted to follow up on. How do you want to address that in the next meeting, right? Or the next step is going to be, 2 months from now. Do you want to do that at this next meeting or the meeting after that? So that's part of our staff job, is to make sure that things don't just drop, right? And again, it's the responsibility of the chair, the co-chair, or all of you at a meeting to say, let's not end this meeting until we know until we agree on what we want to talk about next time.
Yeah. I like
And then the details, that's up to the, the chair
Yeah.
and staff to check in on next time.
Seems like Carlos wants to say something. Is that right?
Yes. Quiero, antes de que avancemos, terminar con.
Before we continue, I'd like to
De cómo llevar el
know.
seguimiento de las reuniones o me gustó eso del spreadsheet que dijeron.
I mean, I like the spreadsheets that you mentioned.
Del mes, nada más, lo más importante.
Just the most important points for the month.
¿Qué tratamos en tal mes?
This is for such and such a month.
Ahí. Creo
Sure.
que sería ideal eso.
I think that would be ideal.
No problem.
Easy, and if there's a different format that you all will feel more comfortable than a spreadsheet, because sometimes spreadsheets, we are a little spreadsheet oriented. If there's a different format, please share it. I'm
Maybe
more than happy to be
graphic.
creative or
Graphical, just some boxes, colors, and just.
Mhm.
Because
Simple.
I'm visual person, and when I see.
Okay.
I am too, but
Visual?
maybe like police oversight,
Yeah.
like
some
down.
Mm.
Chief
Okay.
Harold, big points that were made down. Nothing, we have to, the next thing. that's
Okay.
gonna happen.
I can work on maybe sharing some ideas and you can pick what works best for you.
Good idea. How long do the meetings last with the co-chair and the chair to come up with the agenda?
We block an hour.
I
Yeah,
was just thinking, I wonder if it's something that we can quickly do at the end of our meetings. But an hour is enough time. Like,
Oh,
and it doesn't
well.
have to be the details, but just like, okay, let's come up with next meeting's agenda right now while everything is fresh on everyone's mind. But then, of course, there needs to be the details that we can't probably figure out without. you
Yeah.
guys.
And some, there is a part at the end of every
Yeah.
meeting where staff report, like, here's our next steps.
Yeah.
Here's what we're walking away, what you've asked us to do. or what our next steps are. And so, for example, last year, last calendar year, with the CARE program, the co-responder program, right? There was a, commissioner said, we have questions that we want to think about and get to staff so that she can report back. Or with the reimagining police or the police oversight panel, I said, we want to have you come back. We want to have you come back as staff to talk with us again and report back the answers. So it's our job, and we did that, right? The next meeting with Lindsay was to say, okay, you know, how do you want to handle getting the questions back to you all at the next meeting? Do you want it in person? Do you want her to come in person? Do you want them submitted in writing? So it wasn't as though that was just kind of made up, right? It's what you all decided at the end of the meeting. It's like, we want to have this happen next. And then the details kind of get worked out with the chair in between time. But we can definitely, right, make sure that the meetings end with like very clear, like, good, anything that's not being said, any agenda items, you know, just make sure everybody's 100% clear on what you want to have happen next. No problem. That kind of feedback is, I think, important for Ingrid, right? And us and any other staff who are supporting you, is to make sure we know, you know what to expect. If we don't do that, you know, we're accountable for that. And then, you know, when you elect the chair, to work with a vice chair who's Ben Carlos, right? Then that's also their role. And again, so there's accountability mechanism there as well.
Yeah. And I think we go back to that communication piece quite often. We're tapping into it. We're circling into each other's expectations, expectations with staff too. But also that part of getting to know each other, your interest, where are we in the work plan? Again, is we're coming back to the same route that is our communication style. So let's work on that. To let us know what's working, what's not working, and among yourselves as well. So we can continue improving and bringing conversations at the forefront when you need to resume. So we can move into, if you're okay.
I don't know why it's not sharing.
I think naturally.
It's sharing right here.
We can move into 2023, 2024. It's 7:30. I just want to be aware of time. And we have done that in a very natural way as we're speaking about this, but it would be, oh dear God, this Zoom thingy. keeps
Sorry,
getting-
it's just not showing.
But some of the potential items that we
Just turn it around like this. so you can see.
we could look into because these are initiatives that are happening and are at certain points in the progress or progression. One of them is conversations about minimum wage. This is a conversation that is being a topic of city council, is being a topic of the city manager's office. And we're wondering if there's any interest on you, either getting information from or participating in those conversations. Have you all heard about what's happening with the minimum wage?
Yeah, that's not a few things.
Okay.
Quick refresh.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and please help me here, Elizabeth, as I gather my thoughts and my words. So there is a collaborative effort across municipalities and including Longmont, including Lafayette, like more of a county level on raising the minimum wage. So currently the minimum wage is 12 something. And there
proposing to elevate it to 15.
Really? I thought it was
To
20.
put in kind of a phase, potentially. The details are not yet known.
Because what I've read was like, it's gonna be 20, so soon. Most, yeah.
Well, there has been a county government and then all of the city governments within Boulder County. So as Ingrid said, Boulder, Longmont, Lafayette, Louisville, Erie, like all of the cities have been talking with the county for a while about a regional approach that everybody would come to agreement collectively to raise the minimum wage. So you don't have this city's doing this one's not doing anything, this one's moving ahead at this level. And there is a collaboration of nonprofit organizations, labor organizations that have been promoting a very specific levels or tiers of minimum wage increase. So right now, the city of Boulder has been working with other cities and Boulder County for a process to try to kind of unify the governments together to agree on minimum wage increase. And that process involves community engagement, which would mean reaching out to the nonprofit community, to the business community, getting input, doing that research to say what impacts would there be, and to help governments decide on what level the minimum wage may be increased and when. So that's something that's already happening. In the past, the Human Relations Commission for Boulder was very involved in helping advise on City of Boulder staff minimum wage. And so this is an issue that the HRC has been very engaged in the past. And we wanted to bring this up to you and with some of our colleagues who are very interested in coming to an HRC meeting and getting your input on what that engagement plan is. So here's the ideas we have. What thoughts do you have? What are we missing? I'm not sure what's going on here. What are we missing? Are there organizations or groups that you think we need to pay more attention to and hear from, that sort of thing? So if that's something of interest to you, we can certainly make that happen. It would probably be sometime in the next couple of months, which doesn't have to mean you can't hear about or know about anything else either. But there's definitely, that is moving ahead. And so, we would, if you're interested, we would be able to come back with some suggestions for when to have them come, that be a topic at an HRC meeting.
Let me ask a quite quick question while you're saying that. You said that the HRC used to be really involved in the minimum wage. So what has changed that make it not involved?
Just the discussion hasn't come up again, right? So this was an issue about raising the minimum wage for city employees. And that was a number of years ago, like for City of Boulder employees. So this has been a topic, right, that community members have been very interested in. And city governments have been talking with each other about it for the last several years, but now it has kind of gotten to the point, where it's like, okay, now we're ready to move ahead and try to figure out what that level might be. And can we get a bunch of governments together, to work on this together? So it's not that now we care about it, now we don't, but it's just kind of the evolution of these changes. Now it's kind of come around again as something that's not only minimum wage for city staff, which is the most recent time when the HRC was involved, to now this is something that would affect everybody in the community. So what are your thoughts about that? Interesting.
I'd like to.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a business owner. I don't want to say anything. Because it's hard.
Well, no, that's the perfect, that's exactly the point though.
I've heard of 2 different groups here and organizations. And it's been hard to hire people. So we ended up paying them $20 an hour for just drive people around for us. And I thought it was 20, and I'm glad you say that, because we have been we had a meeting on last Sunday. We were 25 shops, because we were thinking, okay, how do we move past that? Because any mechanic you're hiring now, they wanna get paid $35 an hour.
Mhm.
Anybody you hire to sweep the floor, clean anything, they wanna get paid 20.
Well, so that's a
And-
perfect example of what,
Yeah.
so it won't be, so if our colleague, our staff colleague. Taylor Ryman is the person who for staff is kind of representing. For staff in these spaces, and she would come to an HRC meeting if you want her to and say, all right, here's where we're at. Here's our plan for getting input from community members, business, nonprofit. You know, workers, right? Employee labor groups, et cetera. And get your thoughts about, that sounds good. What about this population? You know, what about this idea? How are you going to account for that?
Well, I think, honestly, I think 15 is good. We all agreed on it. But I'm telling you, out there right now, anybody you hire, ask for 20. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's, I
Like,
feel like it would be
anyone.
good to have them because everybody can share their, different
Yeah.
opinions. Initially, when you said
Can we
$12
send
an
a letter
hour,
to that lady?
like, when you said $12,
Because we're,
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's like,
how do
we're.
people live off of $12
Huh?
an hour?
I
That
No,
think
makes
$12
it's
is pretty
important.
low. I think 15 is fair.
And then when you talked about small businesses, it's like, can they
Like, yeah.
afford to pay?
I think
more,
it's
you
hard.
know?
If you look at me, I'm paying people 20. And I have to figure out a way to provide them some kind of benefits. Because if they go work at, let me give you an example, God will pay them 18, but gives them insurances, dental. I can't do it like that.
I love that you're having this level of conversation, and I also would like to invite you all to listen to different perspectives. Because there's different groups advocating for different things.
Yeah.
And the more informed you are about their perspectives, the more you can come together as a commission, together as a group, and provide, with your personal experience as well, provide that input to. So again, it's like that connector and being able to
I think
bring.
it's good, but I don't know if we can send a letter to that lady to explain it. Because it's true. 'Cause I'm gonna
What
be
you
honest,
do as a business owner is totally up
it's
to you, but
totally
yes.
different. Uh,
What Carlos and Anna, is this minimum wage something you'd want to hear about from? And provide input on the engagement plan?
Next two topics, I want to participate and I want to be picky about, because you have two more topics.
Correct,
Yeah.
yep, there's a couple other things we wanted to
Maybe
bring.
not on this, because it's kind of tricky question.
Well, and it doesn't mean you don't all have to agree on. You might all have different personal opinions, or you might say, maybe this is not my priority, right, for minimum wage, but as a group, is this something that you feel it's in your role,
Like to
helpful, right? Kind of helping advise the city on a specific issue.
to see different perspective on these topics from different kind of business and, I know this is not enough to give $12 right now with this inflation. But, yeah, I want to hear.
And the
I think-
engagement
I think-
piece.
I think 15 is, I'm serious, 15 is absolutely good. But I think we should look at it, looking at it from different places, it's like, it's an example. I had a guy that came to the shop, just to try to figure it out for me, like give rides, and if a customer needs a ride or I need to pick up something, I offered him $18 an hour. And he laughed. He said, if I go work at Wendy's, they will pay me 16 and I will eat for free. So, I think they should look at it in different areas, like, somebody who's picking up tomatoes at those farm in Boulder should get paid really seriously more.
Yeah, I think that at this phase in time, which is community engagement, like what kind of voices need to be heard. And when Taylor comes, you can all share, who needs to be, who needs to
Well, I think it should
be
be
included
different.
in that engagement piece.
Different in different areas. 'Cause I'm telling you, like at the farm,
Yeah.
it's the hardest thing.
Farmers.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anna makes
we
a
can-
good point. There's different things on the list and without us knowing, we're like prioritizing. it.
Sure.
Well, the other topic, and if you don't mind, we can move through these quickly.
I don't know why it's not letting me share anymore,
Um,
so go ahead.
But the next one is input on child-friendly cities initiative. So actually, this table came out of a workshop that we attended to. But the city is collaborating with an organization called Growing Up Boulder on this effort to elevate the voices of children and kind of getting that seal that identifies Boulder as a child-friendly city by UNESCO. So is again a work in progress, a project that is in progress. At this point, we have received the training on what they're doing, what they're hoping to do. And there's other phases as well that are unfolding as they move through their project. So I hear that they might be interested in you to getting to learn more about it. Would you like a presentation? Would you like to have someone come and present to you? Like what the project is about, what are the goals, what is the timeline, what kind of representation from the HRC might be needed?
I would just add to that, so this is an area where the goal of this process is for Boulder to be a child-friendly city. And again, by an international, we would be one of only 7 cities in the country that would have this distinction. And it will help the city make sure that our decision-making is really centered in the needs of children. And part of that will also be used, the process will be used to decide how the city will utilize $2 million that comes to us, that has come to us through the sale of the Denver Broncos stadium. So just an interesting fact. Other cities are using their funding differently. We've decided as a city that we want this part of that decision to come through a process that is centered in youth. So I am already involved in this. Ingrid and other of our staff are already involved in some way. Our Youth Opportunities Advisory Board for the city is already involved. Nonprofit agencies, right, will be involved. One of the areas where the HRC could be uniquely helpful is around any issues regarding the human rights of a child, right? Which is what some of you have kind of lifted up as your motivation for, being engaged. So we don't know exactly what that would look like yet for a group like the HRC, but as Ingrid said, if it's something that you might be interested in, at minimum, we can let you know, like, hey, this is the next milestone. Maybe there's a need, for somebody to come in and kind of represent these concerns about specifically like the kind of the human rights of the child on particular issues as it moves ahead. So Carlos, this is the event that you came to back.
El Día del Niño.
Thank you, Dia del Niño, the Day of the Child, earlier in the spring. And so, again, it doesn't mean that it has to be a priority, but we wanted to bring that up because there is potentially a really nice connection with the scope and the kind of the role and the function of the HRC. Yeah.
I would like to learn and hear about.
Is it gonna be like the city is trying to make the city better for kids or?
Exactly.
In what ways is that? I don't understand that. It's so broad.
It's
It's
very
very broad,
Yeah.
because if you think about the right for children to have clean air, right, or food, and like you can apply it to many areas, like, well, what is our what are we doing right now? What actions are we taking right now that are not necessarily kid-centered that will ensure the future of their clean air, for instance, or like, that's how I understand it, like,
Yeah.
that,
Even like careers with AI.
It could be in terms of opportunities, education, like there are a lot of different areas. And each community within this framework, the Child Friendly City Initiative framework, some things we would say that applies more to us, it applies less to
Mhm.
us.
Yeah.
This is an international standard, right? So a city in Belarus, right, is going to make different decisions about what to focus on than we might in Boulder. Or even the difference between Boulder and Houston, Texas, which is another, city. So, but part of it will be, yeah, closer to Belarus. But the goal will be to say, and again, like this process is already moving forward. But if there's a specific opportunity to say, you know what, boy, this would be great to have input from the HRC.
Right.
Or if one of you, or it's possible, you could say, maybe Anna's very excited about this and wants to engage. Maybe you're participating in some of the meetings and reporting back to the HRC, right? Again, so is there another need to bring in more community members? Is it an event? Are you listening? Are you going to things? It could happen in a bunch of different ways, like we were talking about with Mia. We just wanted to see, is this something that you might be interested in? So we can continue to update you and see what opportunities there might be. So Anna says yes. What do the rest of you think? Maybe, depends. Yes. Carlos.
Yo quiero dar una idea.
I would like to give you an idea.
Los puntos que tenemos aquí,
The points that are here.
sí. Entonces, para mí, yo pienso
So
que
for me,
debemos tomar en cuenta
I
todo.
think we should take into consideration.
Por ejemplo, Ana,
For
que
instance,
ella le gustaría participar.
Anna mentioned that she would like to get involved.
Podemos decidir como grupo,
We
como
can decide as a group,
misión, decir, ok,
a
Ana
mission
va a este
to say,
punto.
okay, Anna will go to this point.
El salario mínimo,
About the minimum wage,
si a él le gustaría
maybe
interesarse en
who is
eso,
more interested
y como grupo,
in assign
no, pues, que lo
him.
pone
As
Jake,
a group, we can
¿sí? Otro
design,
punto, lo
assign
pongo
a representative for
otro
each
punto lo puedo
item.
poner yo, qué sé yo,
But I
y
can take
podemos
this item
involucrarnos todos,
and so on and so forth. So everybody is involved.
pero llevarlos todos a la agenda en los próximos meses.
But to bring all of them
Sería
to the agenda
lo
in the
que
next
pienso.
few months.
did you all get the translation?
It was cutting out a little bit.
Yeah.
But assigning different people their interests.
Yeah, you got the
Yeah.
essence of it. It's like identifying those interests and assigning.
Mhm.
You can choose among yourselves, like who can
Represent.
represent and bring that to the topic, I mean, to the commission as an agenda item for all of you to be informed.
I think that's good.
Yeah, that's really good, Carlos.
And it might look differently for different initiatives, but would help prevent everybody feeling like, now we're doing this, now we're doing this, now we're doing this.
The multiple cars.
The multiple cars, that's going to be the analogy. So a couple more
Yeah,
on the list.
let's, oops, sorry.
Nope, I got it here. Immigration.
It's working now. Okay. The next topic is regarding a project that could require some research in field and on the field research and also research about what kind of organizations are out there already serving immigrants and identifying service needs and gaps. The idea behind this is that the city manager's office is interested in securing some annual funds to be able to better support the immigrant community. So as it is right now, HHS or Housing and Human Services does fund a number of organizations that serve the immigrant community. But it will be ideal to be able to have some more research that supports the argument of we should secure more funds to allocate to the different needs of the immigrant community, whether that is legal services and the wide array of legal services, because there's different needs depending on if it's just strictly a immigrant case or an immigrant in criminal case, like there's combinations about that. Are they sessions that people need, not only getting legal advice, but also just general information on immigration, like what does it mean or how someone goes from one status to the next, and what are some of those like usual pathways? Or maybe it's another session on helping immigrants to get an IT number, or what are the needs out there from the immigrant community and service gaps. So it's basically conducting that research in order to back up the request to ask or make the argument of asking for more funds to be allocated to the supporting immigrant communities. Is there
Or
anything
not.
or not?
I mean, I
Yeah.
think this is, right, we don't, if it really is an honest and open question, then that's where we really would rely on this group. Not only the HRC, but among other, voices, right? We have them in housing, we fund organizations that provide services, right, all the time to people who are immigrants. But what is it that you see and what that you know about and that you hear that are gaps of some of the ideas that city staff have? What would you say that sounds that is aligned with what I experience and what I see? Or like, here's something you haven't brought up
Mhm.
that's also a need or a gap or a concern. But just to make sure that we really have the benefit of the knowledge and experience of you all and people who right?
Mhm.
Kind of thinking about the conversation with Mia. Who is it that and what other spaces are you in that you could help kind of bring these voices to the front to help us shape? Is there anything else that we could provide? If so, what is that? What kind of resources are available for that, et cetera?
So now the goal is just to secure that fund for the immigrant, or is there even more info in order to do that?
It's needing more information to see what kind of services are missing at this point. Yeah.
It unfortunately, none of the grid ideas creates money. We never have as a city as many resources as we want. So hearing the input can help give us more information with, to make decisions. And
I do believe illegal assistance to immigrants would be good. Because I already have got a lot going on to the city to Poland, where they won't do a job because and in the end that person doesn't want to pay. It's just it's an ongoing situation where, but they're afraid to go anywhere to get paid. It's kind of I think a legal assistant would be really where they know, okay, yeah, that person gonna pay me and I think one time I called you about that.
Yep.
Yeah, where it's somebody don't get paid and they can win. It's just and they always create a situation, either to call the cop on them or something, and if you're not an immigrant here, the minute you get arrested,
be risky.
yeah, after you get processed, ICE will pick you up right there at the door of the court, not, and they take you out. In Boulder, they can't, because I think Boulder is sanctuary city. But other cities, like in Denver,
Mhm,
that's how it works, so.
mhm. That's another interesting topic that I wonder how much. Is it helpful to know? How much is it? How much does people know of the sanctuary city and what that means? Like,
I'm gonna give you a simple answer. I have a friend here. He owned a restaurant, I'm not gonna name the restaurant. Yes, he's an immigrant, he has no paper. And then he hired a veteran here. She scared him so much. He ended up coming to the shop. And when I said to him, well, just, she kept everything to you. He ended up giving her $5,000 because she made created, like a whole scene. How, like those tags are there. The tags are there, like how many things and then when you look at it, he's a guy that was helping her. I agree he's an immigrant, he has no paper yet. But he has a business he can hire you. What do? Like as a person who grew up here, that's the problem. And I got upset with it because not because the person didn't do it, it's because she uses that part of him being illegal to make him give her, thousands of dollars. So I think if he knew a legal process, he could have gone there and say,
yeah.
this is the case.
So what I'm hearing is not only like legal assistance for the immigration status, but also legal assistance for business owners who are immigrants.
Yep.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yep.
Okay.
No, I,
What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I'm definitely interested in this topic, especially after some events happening second year and a half. A lot of immigrants from Ukraine, even a lot of people leave Russia because they disagree with what's going on and how it's processed. And they come here and they don't have legal status, even food, even money to live, even place to stay. And I can come to church like in Westminster or Orthodox church and just to gather some information what people need and how many people, because I could not imagine how many, especially in Denver. I don't know how many in Boulder even, but I do know these people very struggle. No legal status, no food, no children. With children, I just could not imagine what is going on. It's hurt me a lot, like person, like my soul, because it's people who speak my language and I speak their language. This is a huge issue because they come to escape. Some people lost everything, houses, kids, friends.
So resources.
And they need resources about everything.
Again, this is a conversation that do not have to have right now, like identifying those gaps. It is great that we're able to identify the legal piece, the resources piece. But if this is a topic of interest, we can bring it back.
Absolutely, it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's not.
And we have to think ahead on what's driving some of these immigration in waves. And, one thing is the need that we currently have right now, and understanding is going to help everybody, including the city, prepare for future waves of immigration, of migrants, I mean. It is 8 o'clock. Fikir, do you want to add anything to the immigrant conversation? Are in favor or?
I feel like
Okay.
everything talked about. It's maybe there's so much to do.
We went from what do we do to too much to do.
It's true. And
Yeah.
part of it, it's a lot to do, but it's knowing how to do it.
Yep.
And I do believe, I got lucky, I have paper here, I do my things, it's a lot, it's not, because I got paper to my ex-wife, and, because I came here on a visa, does that make sense? But the thing about it is it's like, when you look at my guy, he's been living here way longer than me, 25 years. And still, he's owned his business for 10. It's a good restaurant. somebody who does that kind of thing. And when you look at a worker too, like, I don't remember whose worker it was. I had to ended up calling Ingrid to say it is impossible. He works for like weeks. And then you realize the person who was supposed to pay him doesn't have it there. But because he has no paper, he just swallow it. And I don't think that's fair.
Yeah.
To do those things, so.
Okay. Carlos?
Oh. Ay.